Guess who's back, back again. No, so it's like clockwork. It's like clockwork. You know, there's certain things in life that will just, you know, happen. Death, taxes, someone calling you a phobus or ism, you know, not just not for real reasons, but oh no, they criticized us. They must be phobes, and isms. So, Halo Studio senior community manager implies gamers are racist after questions raised regarding employees' embrace of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. So, the person in question is this John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. His name is my name too. In nearly a decade of service, serving a public facing role in gaming, I've never had my passion or work experience, questioned due to my race, religion, or gender. Not even after game delays or server outages when I'm out on the front line as the bearer of bad news. Sadly, it's no secret that my experience is far different than many game developers, especially when compared to devs that have happened to come from marginalized communities. Soka. So, yeah, basically saying, oh God, those marginalized people are being targeted by racism and homophobia and sexism. Um, so actually, hang on, I saw a meme earlier, or not really a meme, but just kind of sums everything up. Hang on. We need to get more gamers to buy our products again. All them racist. Say they're bigots. We could go back to making good products. That's exactly what the situation is now. They're not making good products. Think of so right now, current year 2024. Think of how many TV shows, movies, video games have failed because of forced DEI. Just this year. Yeah. Yeah. These people go in, these people who are hired specifically because of their gender or their race or whatever, they go in, they're not really the most qualified that these companies can have. And then they're assigned to create these stories or whatever. And instead of spending time on creating good stories with, you know, rich, engaging characters, because a lot of these characters you're going to spend an entire game with, instead of giving them real personality, it's just they're black, they're female, they're trans, they're this, they're that. And these people seem to think that those are a good replacement for an actual personality. I can't, most people, unless you're some weirdo on Twitter, most normal people aren't going to relate to a person simply because of how they identify. Okay? It could be a freaking like you could have a character that's just a copy of you, right? Okay, it looks like me. Why should I care about it? What's the driving motivation of this character? What are they fighting for? What are their morals? What are their ideals? What do they believe in? You know, what are their likes or dislikes? I can't identify with a character or get attached to a character simply because they're black, they're female, they're this. How one identifies is not a replacement for an actual personality. But that's what these people think. So companies are hiring those who aren't really qualified for the job. Those people who aren't really qualified for the job are then wasting time and money with forced diversity, equity, inclusion, spending all their time trying to create these bland characters like, oh, you need to make them black. We need, and just ignoring everything else. And then they wonder why games aren't selling very well. You know, people will come out, they'll criticize the game at first. They'll criticize the game, but then you have these people coming out like, "Hey, just a bunch of phobes, this and isms." Well, then now you've opened yourself up to criticism. At first, we were just criticizing the game. We were just criticizing the game. But now you've had to come out and open your mouth and say, oh, well, if you disagree and if you don't like the game, then you're just a phobus and ism. Maybe just maybe companies should remove CMs like this, along with companies going back to being unbiased. Calling gamers racist and throwing blame on them is how you get no money moving forward. At the end of the day, without the consumer, companies are nothing. Yeah. So not only are these game companies focusing on a minority, nowadays it seems like that minority doesn't even want to play those games. They don't even want to play those games. So you're pushing away the minority that you're pandering to. You're coming out and saying, oh, phobis and ism, and alienating the rest of the player base. And then you're pushing away potential consumers, potential gamers, because they're going to come in and say, well, I was going to try this game, but they're coming out and treating their customers like crap. And I don't want to support a company like that. So you're pushing everyone away because of you thinking that, oh, we need diversity, equity, and inclusion in video games. And yet they haven't realized it doesn't work. Sparking Zero just came out. Guess what? Success. Huge success. Making a lot of money. Making a lot of money. Why? Because it's a fun game. It's a fun game. And if I had the money, I'd be paying for it and playing it right now. But I don't have the money. But it's a real good game. They took what was great about Tenkaichi 2 and 3 and just made it better, updated for modern hardware. You know, that's how you make a good game. You just take what you know, a formula that works, and just do that. If it's an RPG or a story-driven game, rich, engaging story, characters that you can relate to, not just because of how they look or how they identify. So, like, for example, I bring up games that I play. Genshin Impact. The Travelers, the whole, you know, brother and sister dynamic between those two, the fact of, you know, people want to see them reunited because they are so well written and so loved that even though they don't look like us, they're silent. They don't really have but a few lines in the game half the time. You want these siblings to reunite. And every time they're this close to reuniting, something separates them. And it freaking devastates the player. I've seen people on the verge of tears because of these two never being able to fully see each other again. Because of how they're written. There are games where people will cry over, you know, you're playing as an animal or an anthropomorphic, you know, character. People will cry over those characters because of how they're written, not because, oh, they look like me, because no, we're not anthropomorphic cats or anything. It's because of how the character is written. And these DEI hires forcing DEI in games don't seem to realize that people don't want DEI. People want a good game. We want characters we can relate to. We want characters we can cry about. We want to feel emotions when it comes to these characters. So when people come out and be like, oh, these people were criticized and they're just, all those people criticizing are just a bunch of phobes, it's an isms because, no, you're in a company, you're in a gaming company to make money. How does one make money in a gaming company? Well, you make games. How do those games make money? By being good. Again, think 2024, just this year. How many games have come out that have failed because of DEI crap? How many movies? How many shows? There you go. There is your answer. They all have the trend of having forced DEI. The people in these companies claim they want it, that, oh, there's a clamoring for diversity, equity, inclusion in the media. But then the numbers come out and it's like, okay, clearly there's not. Clearly there's not. So the fact is, these companies need to wake up and learn. Otherwise, companies that have been in business for 20, 30 years, they're just going to disappear. I've said this before. If you go on Steam, there are indie creators that are creating games 1,000 times better than anything a AAA company can produce right now. Because they actually put heart and passion and love into whatever they're creating. Any one of you guys out there could easily go in and write a better story than these companies' overpaid writing staff. You could write a better story. If you are so if just say Lara Croft right now, because that's a big one. They're just a bunch of Lara Croft things coming out, Tomb Raider things coming out. If you're a true fan of Lara Croft and Tomb Raider in general, you could go in and write an entirely better story than than the entire staff that they have, because you actually understand the character. You know what the people want. You know what will attract people. You're not going to cater to a tiny little base of gamers. You're going to the broad numbers. You're going to look and say, oh, well, there are a lot of people who want the original Lara Croft back. So let's see if we can make a game where we have a story that's centered around her, that incarnation. Dual pistols, femininity galore, but being a badass at the same time, like what we're used to with the original. And writing a story where she's not crying every 2 seconds or bringing up daddy issues. It's just 100% Tomb Raider, Lara Croft badassery, raiding tombs, unforgivingly raiding tombs. Not like, oh, I'm gonna put it all back because that's an insult to other people's cultures. But no, you can make a good game. I guarantee. But calling people phobes, and isms. This is what we want. This is what we want. Just make good games. If you make the good games, the money will print itself. If you make a game with good characters that are more than just how they identify, with a good, rich story, really, graphics don't really matter nowadays. Look at some of the indie games on Steam that succeed. You don't have to have good graphics. Good controls, because really, what's the most important thing of a game? Being able to play it. If the controls suck. And that's another thing you notice with these games. They come out, the controls suck. The controls suck. Clunky, glitches, bugs. Because they're so focused on the stupid crap that everything else is just like this. Just goes right out the window. Everything else is just like this poor man right here. Just right out the window. And then when you question it or you bring it up saying, hey guys, all you have to do is make good games. It's like, oh, you're just a phobist and ism. You're just a far-right extremist. You're just a right-wing conspiracy theorist and you vote for Donald Trump and you pluck butterfly wings and you don't look both ways before you cross the road and you don't give your mom a hug goodbye. It's just the same crap over and over. So, you want to succeed? Make a good game and stop calling people who criticize the game phobes and isms. Because you're not only pushing the main player base away, but you're pushing away potential consumers. No one's going to want to support a company. It's like, okay, They're treating the customers like crap. I'm not going to support that. And when you're making a game, stop catering. Seriously. Because the numbers have shown, they're like, oh, the people want it. No, they don't. The people don't want it. People you're catering to aren't buying it. You're calling people phobes and isms, so those people aren't buying it, and potential buyers aren't buying it. You're losing because you're losing all, every aspect of the game when it comes to customers. So make a good game, keep your mouth shut. We don't care about your activism. We don't care how you identify. Just make a good game. Plain and simple. But it seems like I'm making these kinds of videos like several times a week because there's always some schmuck who wants to come out and open his mouth about the racism and the phobes and just make a good game. Just can we just turn back time a little bit? Back to, when companies did make good games where they didn't, weren't run by activists, where they cared about the quality of the game, where they made games that were fun. Again, if you have a game where you have characters and some may not even be human, if you have a game where people are crying because of things that are happening in the game and to your character, that's a good game. Again, Genshin Impact, it will tug at your heartstrings so freaking much, especially like during the Archon quests. The special events that they have sometimes, they will break you. Like, they will emotionally break you. I've seen people who think they're tough guys, they start breaking down. You can see them, tears in their eyes because of how well written this stuff is. It's not hard. Just make a good game. But hey, what do we know? We're all of us, even you guys who are on the left, who's still criticizing, welcome to the far right. Because we're all far right here, apparently. Even you guys on the left. If you're on the left and you criticize this stuff, guess what? You're a far right extremist. Welcome to the group. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.